Hello there, it's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Well, here we are. We survived the weekend, the No Kings weekend.
Ah, yes, the No Kings.
What do we want?
We don't know.
When do we want it?
Also unclear.
Why do we want it?
Because it was forwarded to us in an email, so it must be true. Yeah!
You know, that kind of sums it up, doesn't it? Really, it does.
Yeah.
What
Boy,
do we
talk
want?
about spam mail. That would be that kind of email, boy. That's spam.
What do we want? We don't know. When do we want it? Also unclear. You know,
But they got it in an email, so it must be true.
I was listening to a talk show out of Boston this morning as I was doing my show prep, and the guy said, you know, MSNBC ran footage and it said it supposedly was the crowd at the No Kings rally. And what they were showing was footage from a Black Lives Matters rally in 2017. And I thought, what does that say? And one of the stations in Pittsburgh, they talked about the size of the crowd in like the 6 o'clock news as being like, 5,000 people. And then later on in the 11 o'clock, I think they came back and said, well, our figures initially were higher than they actually were. And so there were big crowds. And one of the things I noticed, Bill, did you see any of the video of the crowds? Most of them were like white. I'm not trying to sound like I'm being racial here, but they were white senior citizens and or like college students, you know?
So they were paid.
Yes. Well, I think you'll find that the senior citizens who were there were they were like the hippies back in 1967.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's changed is they've gotten 50 or 60 years older, you know? And they're older, but boy, this was right up their alley. Nice sunny day, had a chance to go out and raise a little hell. Not sure what they were doing it for, but they were out there anyway.
And they're getting paid for it because somebody somewhere is funding this thing, which there's no records of it. You can't prove it. And,
we say that, Bill, but I was looking at an article this morning. They said it was George Soros's Open Society funded $7 million towards these. Think about that. I mean, and it had to be organized, folks. They had to have people there with signs made up, and free bottled water, and maybe bus rides from the one park to another park. I mean, these things all cost money, and it wouldn't surprise me if, that's how that money was spent. Boy, he's into everything, isn't he?
Yeah, there's got to be what he's worth, $50 billion.
Yeah.
With all the money that's been spent, though, you would have thought he would have gone through all $50 billion, but maybe not.
Well, anyway, it was not, by the way.
Help.
You'll see, like on the news, an overhead shot, a drone shot or something, and it will look like a lot of people, maybe 5, 6, 7,000 people in a crowded area. They had a big turnout. But that's not a lot of people. I think I heard it was under 1% of the American population showed up for these rallies around the country in total.
Well, if he spent $7 million over 50 U.S. cities, it's $140,000 a city, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not when you sit there and go, well, if you got 5,000 people marching, which I don't think is a big thing, that doesn't give you, a whole lot of money because there's other things like the water, the transportation, everything else. By the time you get it down there, you probably, they didn't get that much money or they didn't have that big of a crowd. Because,
Bill, 11 months and 2 weeks ago, we had the real No Kings rally. It was called the American Election. And the guy we have sitting in the Oval Office right now won by well over 77 million votes. That is a No Kings referendum, not this. This was a joke. I mean, think about it. It's not even a year since Trump was voted into office. Never mind took the oath of office. That was in January. But the elections were in November of last year, and that spoke volumes. And you didn't see, by the way, there was no rally for Trump support over the weekend, because if that had been one of those, I think they would have been seriously large. I mean,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was just looking at the numbers here. I was going, yeah. Well, for $28 a person, I wouldn't go out and do a whole lot, would you?
No, not really. But it was, like I said, a nice sunny day. A lot of these people, they're older and they don't have a lot to do on a Sunday, because God knows, I hate to say it, I don't mean to, but most of the liberals don't think much about going to church. If they don't need God in their life, many of them. I'm not saying all of them. I'm not saying all of them. But in my experience, most of my liberal friends are loose when it comes to God and religion. Okay, so...
well, it's funny because they're on a swivel stick on that. It's like, I thought you were a Christian.
Yeah.
And they do all this.
They use it when it's politically correct, Bill.
When it helps them, they're going, look, I'm a Christian and I go to church sometimes. But
Exactly.
They don't. There's going to be a price they pay on Judgment Day, and that's all I'm saying.
The thing that was interesting, Bill, is Nancy Pelosi was there pulling off a crown off of a doll. Oh, that was really effective, Nancy, and she was very proud of it too, because after all her years in Washington, she still had the ability to take a crown off of a doll, which I thought was an amazing achievement. Also, I think we had Schumer there. Schumer was there. Oh, and what's her name? Elizabeth Warren up in Massachusetts. She said he's not a dictator. He's not a king. He's, how did she put it? He's a bully. That's what she said. He's a bully. I thought, oh, you gotta be kidding. But Elizabeth Warren has to be one step beyond. Usually, she has to make sure that that she was there. All the Democrats showed up. The regular cast of characters to criticize our president. And none of them, by the way, had an alternative answer to President Trump. None of them said, well, here's how we would have solved the problem in the Middle East. They had, by the way, Joe Biden in office for 4 years, and all he did is help to make it worse. Now, yes, people are going to be saying, and they are already saying it, the left is already saying that the war in the Middle East is back on. Hamas has violated Trump's peace deal, launched several attacks against Israeli troops. But I go back to what I said on Friday.
We got the prisoners.
Yes, that was the main objective. We
can blow them the hell off the map.
Yes, and by the way,
Goodbye. See ya.
Trump said, and I saw him in an interview on Maria Bartiromo's program on Sunday on Fox. I heard Trump say, listen, Trump promised that they would put down their arms and they would do all of these things. Now, if they don't do it, they know that there'll be repercussions.
Well, let me ask you a dumb question. I mean, you had all these rallies, and we know somebody that financed it, and we know who it was. Does it benefit the Democrats to have Hamas doing what they're doing? And does it benefit somebody that has an alternative agenda for them to do what they do? And if he funds rallies, could he fund them?
What happens if the war takes off again in the Middle East? It sucks up all the oxygen in the news cycle and takes the spotlight away from the Democrats and the shutdown in government.
Right.
People aren't talking about the government shutdown when they're shooting again in the Middle East. But Trump,
look, they've got a lot of puppets on strings out there. Hamas is one of them. And they go, we got to work this puppet again. So hey, Georgie, can you help us here? Yeah, I'll give him $1 billion.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that where we manufacture our arms, there, you get the BlackRocks of the world. They don't give two squats where the money comes from as long as the materials are bought. So, $1 billion? Okay, we'll give you $1 billion worth of heart. You know what? We got a 2-for-1 deal going on today. There you go. You give us the money cash, you got the stuff. There you go. Thank you very much.
So,
and
Bill, we have the situation where the Middle East is boiling again, but I don't believe we're going to get involved. They asked directly President Trump. Maria Bartiromo said, "Well, we can have American troops there." Trump said, "No, we don't need American troops. The deal that we set up, the peace deal we set up, means that other countries are going to be more directly involved with squelching any kind of Hamas violation, meaning Israel is probably going to get involved again, and probably with a lot more oomph. If that's hard to believe. A lot of people say they were already fighting a pretty heavy war, but they were fighting with a governor, meaning what an engine governor is. It keeps you at
a throttle.
Yes, it throttles you down at a certain speed. And I think that with the prisoners gone, with the prisoners back, that governor's removed, and I don't think this war is going to last very long. Hamas also will probably be handled by, dare I say, Egypt, because these countries promised in this peace deal to be directly involved with policing that part of the agreement, not the United States. Everybody immediately turns their head and looks at us, but that wasn't the deal. The deal was these Middle Eastern countries would police their own area, their own back, and they have more at stake. Egypt and Jordan and all of these countries are sick of the problem that they're having in Gaza. With people dying, with refugees storming their borders, trying to get some kind of sanctuary. They're tired of this. They want this to stop. But see, Hamas, anybody who is paying attention knows that Hamas has nothing else going for it. I mean, if it's not running Gaza, if it's not fighting that war, what purpose do they have?
Well, if you were born to fight, that's all you've done.
Exactly.
That's all you take war away, what have you got? And see, that's another thing. We get this handled again. We've got to go in and say, look, guys, you can't just sit there and shake hands and then, it's not shaking hands in the middle of a ring and you're coming back fighting. You've got to assimilate into the world. You have no purpose.
Yeah.
So let's find you a purpose. And maybe, that was the thing that I don't know but see, it's the religious war. And that's something.
I'm not convinced I think it's more political and power than religion in Gaza.
It's driven, but then it's political and power. But there are other players outside of there, and that probably shifts back to some nefarious
I think
people.
you hit it on the head when you said, they're actually born and raised in this hate, and they're taught a certain philosophy about Israel and the United States, and for them to just forget this stuff and put it down, it's almost like
can't.
Yeah, it's inbred in them.
So it's going to take, you've got generations. Let's say that you've got 3 generations there that you've got to quail down. You've got to wear them out, kill them off, or whatever. You've got to go through the cycle and, start young,
Bill,
and nurture these people along. That's going to be a hard thing to do.
When part of the agreement was that Israel had to release 3,000 prisoners of Hamas back to Hamas, I realized at that point the deal would not stand because a lot of the people who are going back to Gaza were older Hamas who had been captured. Because a lot of the leaders that were in Gaza, the older leaders were dead. And it was being run by the younger faction of Hamas, and they didn't have the experience. But when you release a bunch of prisoners who have experience back to Gaza, one of the first things they're gonna say after they've had a cup of coffee is, "Hey guys, what's with this deal? We can't abide by this. This goes against everything we believe in." So
the phoenix will rise again.
Yeah, I'm afraid that. But
well, I never believed in the ceasefire. I mean, but the thing I was happy about was that we pulled off, and and you had to hold tight to get all the hostages. We got them back. But unfortunately, I didn't think it was a fair trade, but they would have never released.
But look at the worldview now, though. The whole world applauded this peace agreement. The whole world was happy that it was over. The whole world thought that this is going to be a great thing, a great day in the Middle East. And now the whole world is going to know that the faction that backed away from this agreement was Hamas. And they're going to have the whole world against them, including the Middle East. All of those people in the Middle East who were very satisfied with the deal, and they're going to be frowning at their neighbors in Gaza for doing what they've done. I think that they're going to be the odd man out here, and I don't know. I do see when you have them fighting again, you start to lose hope in any kind of rational, intelligent settlement. But again, this goes back to the prisoners being released, Bill. That was the real deal. You know, and we couldn't do the war the way the war should be done as long as they were using human hostages.
Shields.
Yeah. And so they're no longer an issue. And I mean, I would think that Hamas is making a suicide mistake here by doing this.
Yeah, I mean, we can't predict. I mean, we can sit there, we can pontificate, but we don't know, what cards are going to be played next. And until they happen, all I know is that we got the hostages out. That's the good thing. Hamas is Hamas, and they'll always be that way. And, we're going to have to readdress this and re-deal with it. Hopefully we don't have to step right in right away.
Well, President Trump said he has no intention of sending U.S. troops over to Gaza. That's not on the table. I would think that what is on the table probably is weapons and support in the background. But as far as sending our troops to even he didn't even want to send our troops over there to police Gaza. He thought that would be a mistake, and that would be a mistake. You put in Arabs into an Arab country to police it. You don't put in U.S. troops.
Well, isn't that how Vietnam started? We went over to
Police.
Yes.
As a
And
matter
then
of
all
fact,
of a
Bill,
sudden-
they considered it, they never talked of it as a war, an official war ever. It was always a police action.
Yeah.
And so was Korea, for that matter. Korea was a police action.
With jets, guns, bombs, bullets, yeah, that's policing action.
It was just it was a label, it like a lot of things. Another interesting story that happened over the weekend, and by the way, if we don't seem to be putting a lot of emphasis on the No Kings rally, it's because it really was
a nothing cake.
Yeah, it was nothing. I mean, you'll see pictures on some of the networks. Oh, look at the crowds. Hey, man, you get 5,000 or 6,000 people together in a square, and it looks like it's the biggest thing since sliced bread. But
let me tell you one thing that they did do. They, it's our freedom of speech. It's our right to protest. Okay,
protest. Have a good day.
Yeah, you go ahead and do that, but just keep in mind too that we have a right. Like they were making big noise. A guy that I saw kill his career early on, Bon Jovi, I guess he's going, oh, this would be a good thing for me to go out and go be supportive of. And I thought, you know what? And here's a question I'll have for you. I mean, my right is I don't want to listen to any of his music. I won't buy any products that he endorses.
I agree.
But let's, taking the Democratic point of view, because judges will be real quick to help them out if they go, oh, I'm not going to do that because of them. And they make their stand. Like, they'll sit there and go, I'm not going to serve you a meal today because you're MAGA. And it's my right. All right, so I'm a disc jockey, and I'm working for CBS Radio or whatever. And I go, Bon Jovi's on my playlist. I'm not playing that. I'm skipping to the next record.
Yeah.
Why didn't you play Bon Jovi? Because he's an asshole. Excuse my French. But I'm sorry, but he's well, yeah, but he has the right to do that. Yes, he does. And I have the right to boycott him because it is, it's an infraction on my
But have
human
you
rights.
noticed, Bill? Have you noticed the left is so quick to shove their supporters in our face? For example, there's a movie out right now called Springsteen. Deliver Us from Wherever is the name of it. It's a movie, a drama. There's a guy playing Bruce Springsteen like he was someone special. And I'm going to tell you, folks, I was a relatively young disc jockey when he came out, and I thought his music was pretty bad back then. Now, there's no knocking success. He sold millions of albums to young teenagers who thought he was, and I say, a lot of the women thought he was cute.
The girls liked his derriere type jeans with a handkerchief hanging out.
That's exactly right. It was his persona.
They had fantasies of the guy pumping gas.
But don't think for 1 second he was a great voice. I mean, come on, folks. Just listen to it. Everything he sings was strained. I was born to run.
Look, I'm not going to take anything away from the lyrics of his songs. He wrote some great songs, And
I am of a different opinion.
Well, it depends.
There's
on
a big difference between successful songs and great songs, but that's just
there's you're talking about the hit factory, the top 40 thing, but I'm not going to take anything away from his songwriting ability, because you take the average person and say, sit down and write a song. They're going, huh? He could sit there and put something together.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the way you would or I would, but he did, and he had a message. But his problem was he couldn't sing it, and he still can't. It's worse now. He's really having a hard time.
But they make a movie about him, Bill. And people don't realize how much money is involved with making a film. It's a lot of money. Someone invested a lot of money.
They made a movie about Charles Manson, too, and look what he was.
That's true. That's true.
I'm just saying.
Point well taken. Yeah.
Okay. I don't have to say anything more, you know?
Well done. You rest your case. So anyway, they had a lot of celebrities out there. I mean, not a lot. The same cast of characters were out there. The same liberal people who don't like Trump. You've seen them all before. You've seen them in other venues, but they were there. They were adding their voice to this dissent. And that's part of what we are in this country. You can dissent. It's okay for you to have a difference of opinion. The problem is when they try to shove their opinion down your throat.
Well, it's okay to have a difference of opinion unless it's them calling the shots. And then if you have a different opinion,
then you lose, and you could lose your social platforming.
You lose your social platforming, respect, and everything. Look, I wasn't going to bring it up, but I had somebody out of the blue, because this weekend they sit there and they do all their diatribe, and I won't go into the details, but they hit with something that not only sat there and, demoralized me, but they did an attack, probably maybe knowingly or unknowingly, where they attacked, someone very close to me that is no longer here. And they were trying to equate something, and I'm going like, you came up with the wrong thing to say.
You're out of bounds there, pal.
Word.
Yeah.
You're way out of bounds.
Yeah.
And I explained it to him, and I said, do you have any more stupid questions? Because... I was so mad, but that was probably their point. I was so mad that I said, I got things to do and places to be today, and I'm not going to do it, because if somebody came and got in my face with their left lean and diatribe, I would have just nailed them there in the spot, and I knew that. So I said, stay inside, Bill. Stay inside.
This is where the internet fails us big time. Social media fails us big time. There was a time, and we've talked about this before on the program, when you could be friends with somebody who had a difference of political opinion, and it was okay. And they could tell you why they believed a certain thing, and then you could say, I don't believe that, and you could have a disagreement, and then you could go shoot baskets.
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore. Because of social media, because you're constantly in this battle, this constantly having this opposition thrown in your face, be you leftist or somebody on the right, either side. You're always having this confrontation. There's always this friction. You don't get a break anymore. You don't get a chance to go, catch my breath.
You know, the left is always casting accusations that you're a racist, you're a Nazi, you're this and that, which to me is out of bounds.
Big time.
And they're guys that, you know, I'm sorry if you're on the left, but you like to play out of bounds. But you know, when you go attacking, you know, somebody's grandmother or their mother or their father or a child that was lost, you know, and you've just stepped into unholy ground and ground that you should be very careful walking upon. And that's what happened to me yesterday.
And Bill, that's an area that people wouldn't have dreamed to step into 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Right.
But they think nowadays that there's no place that is out of bounds anymore. They think that they can go anywhere and say anything, do anything.
And that's why I stayed in, because I'm going like, if I would have gone out yesterday, I surely would have heard somebody saying, because you can't go anywhere anymore without somebody popping off to see if they could draw some just to get in your face and push you or do whatever. You know, what's your problem, huh? You put your hand up. Oh, you touched me. Did anybody get that on film? They touched me. You know, you don't have the right. And I'm sitting there going, I wouldn't have let it go that far. I would have nailed somebody right there in the spot. So I stayed. I sheltered in place and said, you know, I'm not going to, you know, fall victim to that.
I'm sorry you actually had to go. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'm sorry you had to go through that. It was uncalled for, and it's something which we should never have to experience in this society we live in. It's too good a society, but I do think it's intentional on the part of maybe it's deep state. They want this friction between the sides. They want it to be constant. They want it to be. I mean, let me ask you a question, Bill. 20 years ago, if somebody had a difference of opinion and it was a friend of yours, you never hated them. I didn't.
No.
But you know what they do now? They hate you. I'm telling you, folks, there are people now who hate you because you are conservative.
Well, and I'm asking in general to people, do you know I'm going to give you 3 words. Do you know the difference between I don't approve, you know, I don't like you, or I hate you?
Well, no, a lot of people nowadays don't.
If you don't know the difference, you need to figure it out, because, you know, I don't approve of what you're saying. Okay, I get it. You know, we don't agree. That's fine. You make your point. That's it. We're done. I'll weigh it in, you know, through my filters and go, oh, they got a little bit of a point here, a little bit of a point there.
Yep.
You know, we find some mutual ground and life goes on, you know. But, and then when I go, I don't like you, well, that doesn't mean I won't get along with you. It just means you and I don't share anything in common.
Remember the song that We Just Disagree? It's just you and I, and we just disagree.
Right. Ain't no good guys or ain't no bad guys.
Exactly. It's just you and me, and we just disagree.
But if you hate me,
yes,
and you don't even know me, you know, or you're just hating me because, you know, you're throwing something out there that is vile and filled with hate towards you, you know.
By the way, if you don't know the song, you should go out and check it out. There ain't no good guys, there ain't no bad guys. It's just
Dave
you
Mason.
and me. Yep, it's just you and me, and we just disagree. And,
Yeah.
and that was a simple way of putting it, but it was how people were. You could be a Democrat or Republican, conservative, liberal back 20, 30, 40 years ago. No big deal. Nowadays, it's
Well-
a call to action.
You got people out there that are stirring the pot to hate. The Democrats hate Trump. Why do you hate him? Well, he did this, and this. Oh, you got the email from somebody that decided to, rip him a new one for something that in time has proven he didn't do. Like Adam Schiff has been caught now that he conspired against Trump. Nancy has been caught. She's admitted to it. Schumer has been caught. I mean, they've all been caught.
Yep, they have indeed. And
What do we want?
We don't know.
When do we want it?
Also unclear.
Why do we want it?
Because it was forwarded to us in an email, so it must be true. Yeah!
Bingo.
hey, let's break for a commercial. Like and share the program if you would. And also, if you have something you want to say to us, just drop us an email at mail@jimandbill.com, mail@jimandbill.com.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. Don't know if you heard about this. This was should have been a big story. Should have been all over the news, but it's been kind of hushed up. And I'm not sure exactly why. Authorities in Florida are investigating a serious security breach after a hunting stand was discovered overlooking the stairs of Air Force One at Palm Beach International Airport. The structure was hidden amongst trees with a direct view of the presidential aircraft. It was found by U.S. Secret Service agents on Thursday while they were doing a routine sweep ahead of Donald Trump's return to West Palm Beach. That's not a coincidence. They weren't out hunting and looking for deer or near an airport like that. I don't even think they're allowed to have weapons that close to a municipal airport, an international airport. You don't go out firing high-powered rifles just for the hell of it right near runways. But the fact of the matter is, I think this is a direct indication of what we're dealing with right now. They want our president dead.
Dead. Yeah, they do. There's no doubt about it. I've forgotten about that. I saw that over the weekend, and it's being glossed over,
Yes.
and it shouldn't be.
No.
And I would think that stand, somewhere around, there is somebody that saw something or knows something. There's probably, if you go through the area, some kind of clue that got dropped, a shoe print,
Yeah.
a fingerprint or something. They need to get these people. And what were you hunting over there? Yeah. Did you have permission?
747s. Yeah.
Yeah, you have permission to be in that property. No, I didn't. Took it upon myself. Well, you know what? We're going to take you into custody and lock you down for a little while while we investigate
How
this.
many other hunting stands are there that we have to be concerned about? I think that we're going to find there's probably a heck of a lot.
Yeah, I think they're all over. I'm surprised they found it because, there's probably more vulnerable places than anything else.
Yeah.
And, the left is pushing this thing. They'll go, well, if you had gun control and nobody had guns, this wouldn't be a problem. Yeah, it would. Because, you see, we disarm everybody, then there is no code of protection. Guns can be acquired, legal or not. And as a matter of fact, I'm sure that whoever set that up, they probably don't have a registration for the gun.
And, the fact of the matter that it had a direct line of sight. It wasn't like there was a hunting stand in the woods, but, it was off at an angle. This one was set up so that the sniper could position himself in such a way that he had a great shot of President Trump coming off Air Force One.
Yeah.
Which also, when I heard this, I thought, does this mean that every time the president lands, the plane pulls up to the exact same location and drops him off every single time? you would think that, when they come to pick the president up at the White House, they come with 3 helicopters, one real one and two decoys, and they all look the same. And I guess the purpose is you really don't know which one is going to land and pick him up. And then when he takes off again, they kind of mix it up as they fly away, and you don't. It's like, well, which one is the one he's on? But if they keep landing and dropping him off at the same ramp all the time, if there's a routine to it, doesn't that make it easier for somebody to take him out?
Well, yeah, it does. And the routine, though, is by convenience designed for planes that were never thought about. Here's your plane flying along, and the way that this thing, it's left side configured. So you enter that side,
right.
You exit that side, you pull up to a hangar, you've got the wingspan to think about. So you really, and the way the approach to the place, how are you going to turn that plane around? It's going to be a big, anytime that plane hits the ground, or bad choice of words,
right?
Anytime that plane lands and is on the ground, no matter where it is a target. Now, I would imagine that there's shielding inside, they're cocooned inside.
747s have a lower staircase. They have another way the president could exit. It's under the belly of the plane, essentially. And it's not as dramatic, it's not as presidential, but it's probably a hell of a lot safer, because when he gets off where he gets off, he's at almost the very top of the plane. He has a long walk down those stairs. I don't know how a guy 79 years old can, with the knees of a 79-year-old person, can so easily go up and down these stairs, but he does. And but he's a walking target on that staircase. Now, maybe that's why Joe Biden kept stumbling all the time. He figured it would knock the assassin his sights off.
Yeah, it was really a plot.
It was a plot. He did it
pretty
intentionally.
Smart of Joe. Yeah, that was brilliant on his part. And letting the country run itself and having auto pen.
Yes,
it gave him more time at the beach.
It also rested his wrist. The other thing is, I think that they should think about bringing the president off the plane underneath the aircraft. I think they also have, by the way, Bill, like an elevator, that the president could take, which would help him get off the plane. Because not every president, what if the president was put in a wheelchair for some reason? Does that mean he can't fly in Air Force One anymore? Or would they have to accommodate the wheelchair? Well, if there's snipers out there, if they find out there are sniper stands right near the runway, maybe that's a good reason now to protect him in a different fashion. Because, by the way, he has a responsibility to stay alive, folks, for us.
Yeah. The problem that you have, and that's been proven in D.C., is that no matter how secure it is, let's say that they have a way that he's cocooned through a tunnel that comes up and meets him at the plane, and he walks through it. You don't know with 100% accuracy that everybody that is there in his security detail is on page. They might have passed all the things, everything around, but they might have a point in time to where it's their turn to do what they have been destined to do, or whatever it is. I can't find the right words, but it's getting to the point, and that's
what you're saying is you can't trust anybody, even people in his detail. You can't trust
anybody, and Trump knows that, which is why you say, man, I don't know why he's doing this. He's going, they're going to get me. They're going to get me, and which is also a bad attitude, because if you think they're going to get you, they probably will, but I think they're going to keep trying, and you probably think
there has never been more animus against a U.S. president than there is toward Donald Trump, and it's uncalled for. It's uncalled for. He is the president of all of us, and when I hear this no king stuff, it made me want to puke, because let me tell you, folks, he's doing everything. He's busting his tail. He gets about 4 hours sleep a night. They say at 2 a.m. he sometimes calls people with a question, because he's working still. This is a guy who, like I said, is 79 years old.
Track of time.
Exactly.
He has no concept of day and night. He's just doing stuff all the time. And Einstein was that way. I think Tesla was that way.
You know, we're getting
I'm
our
not
money's
saying-
worth with Donald Trump. We didn't get it with Joe Biden.
Right. I mean, they made fun of him that, he was in the first term. Oh, he's out golfing again. Okay, that is his hobby. That's his sport. Whether you say he's a good golfer, bad golfer, it doesn't matter. That's his thing. And Joe was always out at the beach. He was down in his basement, out at the beach. Thousands of executive orders signed by Autopin. Trump signs his. Obama got away and did things. Clinton got away and did things, and a lot. And by comparison, Trump, is shallows in what the time Biden took. There probably wasn't a consecutive month that Biden served in, as the president of the United States in the White House, where he wasn't off lollygagging around,
Yeah.
I'll be at the beach. I'm
Yes.
going up to Delaware. I'm going to,
Fall
up
off
to
my
here.
bicycle. Yes, yes.
I'm going to fall off a bicycle because I've never ridden one in the past 30 years.
Yeah.
So I ought to do it now while I'm old and senile. That was a brilliant move.
I'm old enough to remember the Kennedy assassination. I was a teenager at the time. And what I do remember the most about that assassination was the sheer surprise of it. I mean, I was amazed as a kid that it happened. It was like an assassination. They shot and killed a president. I mean,
Yep.
and that's how the whole country reacted. We were all shocked. But do you know, right now, when I was thinking back on Butler, when I heard that he had been shot, I didn't react. I didn't know how badly he had been shot at the time, but I wasn't as surprised because they hated him back then. They didn't want him to have a second term, the hate on the left is palpable. You can almost eat it. It's so thick and pervasive,
Right.
But I can remember thinking, oh God, they shot Trump, and I thought that the amazement wasn't there that I had when Kennedy was shot, because you almost, like you just said, they're going to go after him. They're
Well,
going to
you
shoot
know
him.
what? Here's the thing, and this is a tough path to walk on. But I'm going to go ahead and trollop down it. Okay. So
It's
here
what
we
we
go.
do, Bill.
Okay, so you got to bear with me on this, but there are no consequences for hate. And I hate the man. Somebody ought to put a bullet in him. All right? There's hate. And then, well, they did it to Charlie Kirk. And there's no consequences for the hate. Now, there was for a young lady in Arkansas, the university, a professor there. She said all kinds of vile things about Charlie Kirk after he was dead. And I think it was, what was her name? Felicia. I can't read my own writing. But either way, she found out that her freedom of speech did have consequences. They sacked her. You've no longer got a job. Well, I almost think it has to go beyond that, because she's promoting hate and death and violence because she doesn't agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, same thing. Do you remember he's faking it, and then you've heard all these people that said, we just need one bullet and that's it. All right. Here's the path I'm walking on. You say that, it's just as bad as you pulling the trigger on a gun.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying, you're right. You have the freedom to say that. But how do I know there's not intent there? There's intent to hate him and maybe to get somebody to do what you don't have the courage to do. And I don't want you to have the courage, and I don't think that you should have the right to go that far. And because of that, I'm willing to sit there and say, you know what? We don't need to ban guns. We need to ban haters.
That was a well. I would agree with you, except as soon as there is a left administration, they'll come after every MAGA person, because as
Well,
far as
they've already said they're going to,
yes.
so they've already
Well,
said
that's
that
true.
about us.
That's
So
true.
why don't we grow a set and say, you know what? You guys are right. Let's start with you.
Well, there was a teacher, by the way. I think her name was Martinez in Chicago. She was seen during the protest over the weekend, yelling vile things about Charlie Kirk. See, this is an open invitation for every dissident when you have these rallies to go out there. They had anti-Israel, pro-Palestine. They had, and I love this one, Gays for Palestine. And I'm sorry, folks, but and I'm not saying this to be racist or confrontational or anything, but if you look at what they've already said, there's no place in a lot of these countries in the Middle East for gays. They have this bad habit of tossing them off of buildings. Seriously.
Yeah, fly, my little nightingale, fly.
Yeah.
And out the window you go.
But, so you see these ridiculous leftist liberals here in the U.S., gays for Gaza. And it's like, oh, my God. Do you realize what you're standing for? It's like someone said over the weekend, it's like chickens for wolves, you know. Think of the complete, anything that sounds ridiculous, you know, it's like mice for cats. You know, it's nonsense that they would even be at these rallies with these kind of signs, but they are there. They are there. So anyway, getting back to this hunting stand, Bill, down in I don't know whether. I mean, I'm glad they found it. The Secret Service did do a sweep, and they went that far out, and they found the hunting stand, and they should have anything within you should be able to stand on the steps of that airplane, and you should check anything you can see.
Here's a question. The hunting stand, was it built out of wood with nails and wood? Or was it one that you would buy at a hunting supply store?
Good question. I don't know.
Because let's say that you bought one.
Right.
From Dick's.
Or Cabela's.
You bought
Or
a
something.
hunting
Yeah,
stand.
sure.
Okay. And that hunting stand, somewhere on it, has some kind of serial number. All right? That serial number now can be traced back to the manufacturer who has a receipt. The store has a receipt of the sale. And all of a sudden, it might take a little forensics, but you got a digital trail to, unless it was bought cash, chances are it was put on a debit or credit card or ordered through the mail, not thinking that it could be traced.
Yep. Well,
Or wrote a check for it.
Those are all good points, and I'm sure they're going through it right now. I hope they are. Kash Patel says the FBI is taking point on that case, so it should be interesting to see where they go with this. But it was very upsetting to hear that. There's a faction in our country right now, and by the way, there's a possibility that Joe Biden let them in down on the border. These people may not. But and how many people in these rallies in like Chicago and Los Angeles? How many of them were illegal? How many people in the crowd? I saw Mexican flags in some of the rallies in Chicago. Mexican flags. You don't go to a rally, an anti-American rally with Mexican flags if that's your country of allegiance. What the hell are you doing in an American protest? But they're there. Nobody questions that. Oh, well, you know, they had the flags in the drawer and they had some people in Boston, by the way, who were dressed up as furries. You know what a furry is? There's some people who were dressed up as lobsters. Some people were dressed up as, you know, you think about it, bears, cats.
Why? What's the significance
I don't have,
of that?
and nobody had a good reason, Bill.
Yeah, because the furries. Now, the thing that I read about it, it's actually a sexual fetish, where you don't take your mask off, but you go out to parties where you're a wolf and she is a sheep, and you go off and have sex in your little outfits, and it's like that's what I. It's not a Halloween costume, and it's a fetish.
Some people I think. That it was a great time to go out and be around a lot of people and raise a little heck and,
Not be known.
No, exactly. it was party time for some of these people. Hey, don't forget to like and share the show if you would. And if you want to contact us, it's mail@jimandbill.com.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. Do you know who Patrick Byrne is? Patrick Byrne was the CEO of Overstock.com, and he sold it, made a lot of money. If you check his bio on Wikipedia, Wikipedia is a liberal, agenda-driven encyclopedia. It is not neutral. It is to the left big time. Trust me. I speak from experience. I had a bio on Wikipedia for over 20 years that I didn't put up, but it was put up by a radio company that I work for. And it was there for a long time. And as soon as I started doing this program and we started getting some audience, it just disappeared. And people said, why don't you go and, protest it and try to get it back? I don't care. I don't want to be on it. But the point I'm trying to make is that if you are somebody on the right and they do a bio on you, they always zing you. They always make it sound like you're a conspiracy theorist. They call Patrick Byrne in his bio a conspiracy theorist, like he's to be dismissed. But he's a smart guy, made a lot of money, and had a big company, and he's a libertarian. He is not, dare I say, I'll say it again, he's not MAGA. He's not a conservative Republican. He's a libertarian. But he went out and he talked about, he was supposedly, I guess this is back in 2018 or 17, approached by the FBI to actually run a scheme. So is that what they call a scheme? Run a game on Hillary Clinton. They had, I guess it was just before 2016.
The scam, yeah.
Yeah. They thought that she was corrupt back then, and the FBI was going to run a sting on her. And I think the best thing is to run it and let you hear the story from him.
I bribed Hillary Clinton $18 million. I facilitated a bribe for Hillary Clinton on January 14th, 2016, right here in this town. On behalf of the FBI, they came to me around December 1st, 2015. They told me Hillary Clinton had accepted a bribe from Turkey for $20 million. They told me that I would be working for a group in New York, FBI agents, who had authorization to set Hillary Clinton up in a sting. They asked me to facilitate a bribe for her, an $18 million bribe from another government. The bag man from that other government I was to befriend, and I was to get that person 10 minutes alone in a room with Hillary Clinton. I did. On January 14th, 2016, Hillary Clinton was in this town, and she met in a way that was kept off her schedule. She accepted an $18 million bribe. But General Barr knows this. This is the Durham. They know this was what is behind it all. And I'll even tell you, I'm going to drop one more thing. I've been waiting to say this publicly, and this is what really happened. I will tell you, if you hear this and you give me 90 seconds, your viewers will understand what's happened in the last 5 years in America. I've been waiting to say this on mainstream TV, and they will not have me back because once they understood what this was about. I had Hillary Clinton. I caused Hillary Clinton. I facilitated a bribe, and she took a second bribe for $18 million. And I worked with the FBI as I did that. They're deeply involved in this. They came to me 3 days later and told me I had to forget about it and forget that it ever happened. And I said, what are you talking about? And they gave me one excuse. They said, Hillary's going to win, and it's been decided upstairs. Nothing's going to be able to stop that now. So she's going to win, and she's going to send her people over to the FBI and ask who was part of investigating Hillary, and any of us who were part of it are going to be destroyed, and that includes you too, Patrick. And so this mission has been scrubbed from the highest level. But 2 or 3 weeks later, I was back with 3 federal agents this time. 3 federal agents, and I let them know that wasn't sitting, and this is in Salt Lake City, Utah, and that wasn't sitting well with me, and I'd like to know why we had almost a year before the election. They could have had me and another person in front of a grand jury in a week and gotten her indicted. They told me, this is word for word, Patrick, What's really going on is this. President Obama has his people across the federal bureaucracy at this point, but especially the Department of Justice. Hillary Clinton is going to be president for 8 years, and nothing's going to change that. But think of there being a Bunsen burner within the Department of Justice. That evidence about the 2 bribes you were part of gathering is going to be sitting on the Bunsen burner. And the hand on the Bunsen burner is going to be one of Barack Obama's people. If Hillary's a good girl and defends Obamacare, that flame stays low. If she's a bad girl and thinks for herself, it's going to get turned up high. That way, Barack Obama is going to manage Hillary Clinton for the 8 years she's president, and then she's going to step down, and Michelle's going to run. And Patrick, that's the plan. That plan was called the Operation Snow Globe. That was Brendan Obama's name for it. Snow Globe, they were trying to get Hillary to step into a snow globe. I'm looking for a prop. A snow globe that anytime they wanted, they could then pick up and shake for 8 years. My bribe was the bait to get her to step into the snow globe. That's all from it. This isn't a theory. I'm the guy in the room. I'm acknowledging I took part in all this, and I thought I was helping them conduct federal law enforcement. It turned out that I was helping them set up Hillary Clinton for a deep state to control her. From Obama against Hillary, that when Trump won in a fluke, it got morphed into the Russian collusion delusion. The reason I mentioned that I knew in October 2018 that this was going to happen was because in 2018 I was offered, a federal agent came to tell me, Patrick, you need to understand there are billionaires walking around this world that we made, and we're prepared to do the same for you. You just have to stay calm. You just have to stay quiet through the election. And by that election, I knew he meant 2020 election. So I've known that they were going to hijack this election since October of 2018.
Okay, so that was probably about, the recording probably was around 4 years ago. And Patrick Byrne is, like I said, a very wealthy guy. He built Overstock.com, which was a very successful web store, and he sold it for, I think, maybe $1 billion. He's got a lot of resources behind him. He doesn't need to be controversial. He doesn't need to be out in the forefront. Reason why I played that was because when I heard that, I thought, Kash Patel came out about a week ago and said, essentially, if you think Comey and what's his name, Bolton are a big deal, that's the warm up. I'm paraphrasing, but he said, wait till you see what's going to happen between now and the end of the year and who we go after. And I immediately thought of Hillary. Hillary came out when they had the Middle East peace deal, and she actually applauded President Trump, almost like she was trying to suck up to him. But when his response wasn't positive toward her, she immediately decided to go on the offensive again and attack him.
Yeah. It tells me that there's evil components that don't work in sync in the White House and on the Democratic side, probably on the Republican side too. But, because we've always known Hillary's evil. I mean, if you look up the Clintons' name and the people that have died around them, that list is a phone book. This guy could be added to that phone book. But then, he's sitting on a swivel here because one way he's damned with Hillary because she's probably going, I got your number. And the other side, we'll take care of you. They got your number. And he's sitting there in the middle. So no matter how he plays it, he's, and he probably knows it.
When I look at Hillary, I think, boy, that's the power behind all of this. But then I think, no, actually, it's probably Obama. Obama probably is the guy he was like Hillary 2.0. If what Byrne was saying there is true, he was going to control Hillary if she got into office. He was going to be the power behind Hillary. And if she started to think for herself, well, they'd fix that pretty fast.
Well, you think about it. When they were looking to get there in the primaries, to be the candidate, there was Obama and there was Hillary. A lot of people, hated Hillary. So there were people that sat there and changed parties for the one time to vote in that Democratic primary to vote Obama and vote her out to where he got to run. No matter what you did, it was a mistake. I mean, you had two snakes, and
Yeah.
they were both evil.
So my question, Bill, is we've been teased by the FBI director that there are big indictments coming down. Any thoughts on who you might think are the targets?
Who I really think are the targets are Patel and the good guys. Everybody that's sitting there getting ready to bring this down, I think they're a target from the people that are possibly the target. I'm not going to try to weigh in and say, well, I think it's this person or this person, but whoever those people are to be targeted, they know. And they want to stop this. And so that puts a target. Trump's got a target on him. And I'm sure that Patel's got a target and a bigger one now.
See, I think that when I talk about who's going to be targeted, I think
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but I think they're going to go after these people. This is still the beginning of Trump's second presidency. He's got more than 3 years left still in that position. And I think you're going to see these people get exposed in the first year of Trump's presidency. And a lot of these people who are pulling the strings now are going to be in court very soon. And I think this is going to be a very eye-opening time for our country. There are going to be people, by the way, out there who are going to be screaming, see, he's a dictator. See, he's bringing down the good people like Hillary and Obama.
They're already doing that. They're already doing that little cry that he's a dictator. But I'm just saying, we're going to see how deep their judges go to protect that deep state.
Well, I have another question. If he does the Insurrection Act, which I think is going to happen, if he has the Insurrection Act, then they become irrelevant. And it's not just for one region or one city. You don't invoke the Insurrection Act for Chicago. When you invoke the Insurrection Act, it's for the whole country. Because sometimes something will happen in Chicago that is being orchestrated by somebody in a different city. And you have to have the authority and the power to go there, too, and take them out.
The Insurrection Act, I think the day is coming. But I also think when it happens, you've got the left teeing up the ball. They know it's going to happen. I'm pretty sure they know it's going to happen. And they're going to try to use it to their advantage. And I think at that point in time, if we're not at a civil war, we will be at a civil war, and we will probably enter a time, because you got to think about it in the world stage. I mean, that makes a lot of things vulnerable. We've got a lot of illegals here. I would almost think we would go into a lockdown mode.
Well, if you have you're going to see illegals on the left. They'll be fighting for the left if there's a civil war. You're going to have people who are very ill-informed fighting for the left because they're not paying attention. They go with emotion, not with fact. With people who are on the right, but they don't realize, Bill, a lot of the veterans in our country, I'm not saying all, but a lot of them are conservative. It's when you pay your dues in a uniform, you get a better understanding of what's really going on. And
but when you get out, now you can vote the way you want, but when you're talking about dividing from the country and taking on the opposing party because it just doesn't fit your mood, then you're not a patriot. I think you and I talked about this. There's a lot of people out there that, they might have been in the military, hoorah, but they didn't have the values that we would think. They're split on that, and they get out and they get on their own. And you see some of the hate videos. I think a lot are AI, but then you see the hate videos, and I'm going, how can you sit there and stand behind the fact that you wore that uniform and say what you're saying? And I mean, they're getting vile to where we want to take this guy out. We want to lock him up. We want to put him, see him executed. And I'm like going, That's interesting.
That
we are.
President Trump has already gone through all this stuff. When they wanted to lock him up when he was out of office, they wanted to put him in jail. They wanted to embarrass him. They wanted to take away his businesses. They wanted to destroy his family and his kids. They wanted all this, and they tried. It wasn't just rhetoric. It was something that they actually tried to do. He had a mugshot made at a very vile prison down in, Georgia? And the left thought nothing of that. They thought it was great. Of course, President Trump turned it around, made it a poster, and made it something he could use to market himself. But it was something that they actively tried to do. They raided his property. They embarrassed his wife. All of these things they thought nothing of. So I look at. Does it mean civil war? God forbid. I pray to God that never happens, because civil war is historically the bloodiest type of war a man can fight, because they're fighting on their own territory against their neighbors.
Well, I think the left is, I think they're pushing their base, and their base is toying with the ideas. Well, if you're a MAGA, if you're a conservative, you can't be my friend anymore. Okay. You weren't a friend. You were a social acquaintance on social media. But, okay, be that what it is, they're pushing that divide to where they're getting ready to cut that connection. They don't want to talk to. They've already made MAGA a bad thing. If you're conservative, you're MAGA. And because if you're conservative, well, I'm not MAGA, but I'm conservative. No, let me tell you something. In their eyes, you are MAGA. Is it a bad thing? No. So you may as well
embrace it.
Embrace it, because, they are crazy that way, and they're warming up for a fight. Now, when they're finally going to bust loose and take a swing, I don't know, but
well, I think they brought in their troops over the border.
Mm-hmm.
I think
they're in the dance right now.
I think we're
in the ring.
Yeah, I think a lot of the illegals who came across were brought across by the Biden administration with the sole purpose of being their foot soldiers in the future, because they think, and they'll be told this, the only way you can stay in this country is to fight for it, and the only side that's fighting for it is the left. So if you are here illegally and you think, okay, Trump wants me out, he's going to take me and put my family on a plane and fly us back to our home, or I can stand with the left, grab a gun, and fight against this, who are you going to fight? You're going to fight with the left. So you're going to be fighting a lot of people who don't speak English. Okay?
Yeah. And, the thing about these people that are coming in, they don't have health benefits. They probably haven't had a good meal. And they're being promised homes, unlimited, health care benefits at our expense. But they're being promised that, and they believe the people that are telling them that, and homes.
You made an interesting point. Hold, right there, Bill. It just occurred to me as you were saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it at this time in our history, at this moment in time, is Chuck Schumer fighting desperately against a CR, a continuing resolution, that he voted for several times before in the past, the identical bill? Why all of a sudden now is he fighting against it? Because what he's fighting for is health care for illegals. He wants $1 trillion in funding for health care for illegals. Why would he want that? So he can point to it. So he can point to the fight that he's fighting right now to get these people who are here illegally health care. Maybe he's doing it to fuel this revolution you're talking about.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that they made a promise. They made a promise that you're going to get all of this stuff. And these people came. So they're here going, si, senor, I want my benefits. I want my house. I want my food. I want my rights because I'm a citizen. You told me so. And the Democrats did promise them that. But see, what, you're right. Schumer wants to point at it, and that was my point, because if they can't deliver on the goods, or they decide they're really not going to deliver on all the goods because they know we can't actually do it, then they're going to say, see,
We tried.
It's them.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
tried.
Yeah.
We fought hard for you. It's those Republicans. Go blow up their businesses. Go ransack their
Fight
houses.
with us. Fight with us. If there's a revolution, fight with
So
us.
they didn't just bring in voters. They brought in fighters.
It's going to be an interesting few months, boy. I'll tell you, if we bring those indictments down, by the way, it could be people like Schiff who gets an indictment. Heck, it might be even Schumer. Who knows? Nancy Pelosi, wouldn't that be something? You talk about being upset. Holy smokes.
Okay, let's I don't have a ruler here in front of me, but consider 0 to 12, all right? How guilty do they have to be of insurrection because here's what I believe. When they went after Trump, they went after him with all their vehement and might. They're still going
Right.
after him, but they haven't proved anything. So if you sat there on a scale of 0 to 12, he's at an eighth inch. He's nothing. He's a 16th of an inch. Whereas you got documentation on Schiff. He's got to be the full 12 inches. And that didn't sound right, and Nancy too, and Schumer too. So they're full scale.
Right.
Insurrection.
Well,
Isn't that time to, I hate to say it, but do we need to sit there, maybe take the guiltiest of the guilty, and because it can come back on us too at some point in time, but say, you know what, it is time for people to swing from a rope.
understand something, Bill. Nothing that we're doing now, if we do this, if this happens, nothing that we're doing now is something that wasn't already done to the right by the left. They went after our candidate. They tried to put him in jail. They tried all of these things already. They made the accusations, the slanders, and the slurs against Trump. That was all done by them. They started it. So all of a sudden, if the roles are reversed now and their side starts to get feel some of the heat, it's not something that we started. They did it. They set the example.
Well, you know what I just said, maybe it's time to do the old, go back to the old way and just say, you know what, public execution. Because they used to do that. That kept people in line. It's like,
Well, look what happened to the conspirators, the assassins involved with the Lincoln assassination. They took them out into a courtyard behind a prison, and they had all the press for the time there, and they built a scaffolding, and they hung them.
And that stung to where, it left an impression, because that's what you do to insurrectionists. And when I say this, I also know that the left has sat there and said, we've got to do this to MAGA because we don't agree with what they're saying. Now, there's a difference between them not agreeing with what we believe because, number one, they don't want to sit down and have debates. It's their way or the highway. On the other hand, we have been, throwing vile things at us, accusations that aren't true, but we find that you guys are guilty of what you're accusing us of.
All of the assassinations in our
they're
country.
not equal.
All of the political assassinations in our country were done by leftists.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I'd like to would you do me a favor, if you're a historian, if I'm wrong, tell me. Who was the guy on the right who went after a leftist? You're going to say, well, Teddy Roosevelt was a Democrat. No, Teddy Roosevelt was a Republican, then he was a Bull Moose Party, okay? So Teddy Roosevelt, now Franklin was a Democrat, but Teddy, I believe, was a Republican. I mean, think of the whole list of people who've been shot and killed in our country, and Teddy Roosevelt, thank God he didn't die from the assassination attempt. I think it hit a book or something he had on him, but he still was wounded. And he finished the speech. He was speaking in I think on the back of a rail car, and he got shot. I think he took a moment to get his wits back, and he finished his speech. Went on for another 45 minutes. Go ahead.
I'll show you the difference. Charlie Kirk. Now, I saw an interview with Charlie Kirk where he was not an interview, but when he was out in public, and some guy came out. He was from California, and Charlie goes, "Okay, what's your question? Let's fight. Do you have a question? Yeah, I want to fight you. Well, do you have a point that you're making? I'm not going to come out and fight you. Why not? I won't fight you." Because he didn't have words to say to counter Charlie. So what he wanted to do was bring it down to
His level.
He's a coward.
Yeah.
He is a coward. And those people that say they hate things are cowards. And that's when they don't have words or an argument, but they're hell-bent on their point, they go to the cowardly route. Well, I got a gun. I'm going to hide in a nest and shoot you, because I'm a Democrat. That's kind of sick. And you're a coward. If you cannot sit there, I'm not going to.
If you're a Christian, if you're a praying person, pray for our president because he's in danger every day, every single day.
Pray for the president. Pray for yourself because you know what? You got to ask for guidance and protection because we live in a crazy world. There will be somebody, you could be driving down the highway, going to the store, and somebody goes, "Yeah, you see that SUV over there? Mm-hmm. You know what? It's the only blue one on the highway. I'm going to shoot him." And for no reason. That's the reason. Or you're driving a red SUV, and it's the only red one on the highway. They decide they're going to shoot you.
I have a question for you. Do you think that a lot of this stuff that's happening is because we became a more compassionate society and we stopped having capital punishment?
Yeah, I do. Feelings, nothing more. Look,
yes. We'll send him to jail for the rest of his life, but let him out in 15 years.
Yeah, you know what? And look, I understand the argument because there can, well, they wanted to talk about changing the prison system. I mean, what's his name? Santos. They got out. He goes, he's thankful, but he wants to help out people that are sitting there. I would agree. There are probably people that are sitting there, with a life sentence that might not have deserved that life sentence or could have been framed. But that doesn't just that points to corruption in the legal system, the judicial system with our lawyers and little chicanery and trickery to get what they want, to get an agenda, because that's just the way it is.
If you didn't think there was a corrupt legal system out there, then you're not paying attention to how these judges are ruling right now.
Right. So, maybe we need to correct that, but at some point in time, because that's the argument. Well, sometimes the courts don't get it right, and that guy might be in there for a long time. Well, let me tell you something. If you've ever had to appeal for somebody where we didn't get that one right, they don't give you the chance for the appeal. Now, at some point in time, enough is enough, but they sit there. They don't even, they can sit there and go, "That's a damn good argument, but we found a typo in it," or they'll find a technical error to dance around the truth and not want to admit that they made a mistake.
Hey, we could go on, Bill. We could go on and on, but the show...
I'll just wrap it up. You cannot sit there, and if somebody is... You cannot sit there and let these stupid things stop the system from doing what it needs to do and let feelings keep a guy locked up, and then somewhere down the road, he's 60 years old. He killed 10 people, but
look at the Menendez brothers.
Yeah,
they came close to being released.
Yeah, we said we're sorry.
Yeah,
sorry doesn't cut it.
We're different
Not
now.
all the time.
Yeah. We won't shoot our parents with a shotgun anymore. We promise.
Yeah. There was one thing I wanted to point out, and
I had something here before you do that.
You go ahead.
Mass thieves carried out a stunning daylight heist at the Louvre in Paris. world's most visited museum. It happened Sunday morning. The museum was forced to close following the incident as authorities began to investigate. Visitors were ordered out of the museum. Apparently, it happened when there were visitors there. I don't know how they did it, but they stole a ton of stuff, very valuable stuff, and they did it in 7 minutes. I mean, talk about, they came in on motorcycles. So,
Yeah.
We'll be talking about that later on. Go ahead, Bill. You had something you want to talk about?
Yeah. Kamala, apparently she got taken down for it, but she was on TV saying that she was the most qualified candidate for presidency ever. You got to remember that she started out her political career as a trollop for Willie Brown. Yeah, she slept with him when he was married. So that was how she started her political
and
career.
she worked her way up. There's a line there, but I'm not touching it.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch that. So, but either way, that's that. And then I saw a thing about Gen Z. I happened in another country, but Gen Z is kind of fed up with all, both sides of the party, the adults, the way that we're bickering and fighting, that they're coming in and in one foreign country, killing, the grown-ups because they don't know what they're doing.
Wow.
So, and I'm like going, it starts one place and then it spreads like cancer. And unfortunately, they might have socialistic opinions because they don't understand. It wasn't taught that it was a bad thing in school and not given the history. So anyway, something to think about.
We'll talk some more about this, I'm sure, as the week progresses. This is only Monday, folks. Amazing. Have yourself a great day. Enjoy your remainder of your Monday. Bill, if you wouldn't mind, you can take us out of here.
I will take the wheel right now and say, hey, folks, have a great day. Until the next time, hasta la vista, baby. We're out.
Who are we? And why are we here? Will we be welcome or possibly feared? Do we unite and stand tall as a nation of one? Or split and divide or be mocked and shunned? Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our beliefs? Are they red, white, and blue? The truth is out there, you just have to search. Settle for less, you'll be left in the lurch. No left-leaning lies, no socialist swill. It's straight talking truth from your friends Jim and Bill. Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our belief? Are they red, white, and blue? Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our beliefs? Are they red, white, and blue?
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. All music the property of Jim and Bill. All rights reserved.
This is CRN America.